there are strong indications that politicking for 2019 has started, and party politics is taking a whole new dimension. If you ask how, this is it. The opposition is going strong against the ruling party. The criticisms are coming in real time, so are the responses. In the middle of the fight between the heavyweights, there is a growing debate of a third force and the possibility of outsiders creating an upset. At the resumption of plenary today, the Senate President Bukola Saraki appealed to senators not to be distracted or allow the politics of 2019 come in the way of the legislative agenda. Well, the reality of that is the 2019 politics has started. But a major issue addressed by the Senate today was the ultimatum issued to the Inspector General of Police to tidy the situation in Benue State. My panel tonight consists of Mr. Daniel Buhari in our Abuja studio, Mr. Kayode Ogundamisi. Both of them are regular analysts on the program. Let's get into the matter. And the question that the senator of the APC, a leader of the ruling party, is asking that the president should stand up and take charge and protect Nigerians. My question is, Mr. Ogundamisi, do you think that the president is doing enough? If not, what exactly do you think he should have done differently to handle the situation of the killer herdsmen?
Sheon, let us put this into perspective. This president was elected first on his promise to fight corruption, but also because of his antecedents of being able to deal with insurgents. I remember Maita Sene, he clearly dealt with that. And Boko Haram, he showed a pathway, a resolve to deal with Boko Haram, even though they've not won the war. But the momentum is on the side of our brave men and women who fight on behalf of our country. But on the issue of herdsmen and farmers, this president has been complacent. It's like he's so reluctant to even tell us what he's doing to save Nigerians from this murderous lot. And apart from that, the way they communicate the actions they are taking to Nigerians is almost non-existent. When you look at most of the presidential speeches, the president is not even able to mention the fact that the herdsmen crisis is a major issue. He covers it under normal security. Now, we also have to be very careful. In order not to label the herdsmen as the only aggressors, there are two sides to this story. There is the issue of herdsmen not being able to seen as enemies of the country. Then we have to link it to the fact that some of these people come from outside Nigeria. The Fulani herdsmen cut across our borders, the issue of border security. And people should also know that the victims of this crisis are not just Christians. They are not just people in Benue. They also involve Muslims in parts of our country. They involve people in Taraba and other parts of the north. So we need an holistic approach to this issue. It's easy for the Senate to just issue an ultimatum, but they should ask themselves, why can't the Senate just donate a part of their allowances to some of these people in crisis in these parts of our country? The state governors, what are they doing with the security allowance that they get from taxpayers? What have they been able to do in order to protect those communities? And this issue of state government arming militias to protect the states, these are things that might come back to haunt us. Remember, in Borno State, it was the government of Borno that armed the Boko Haram group that sort of gave them the power in which they now grew into a monster, and we are all living to witness to the kind of murderous acts that they are they're churning on to our country. So we need to look at this issue of the Fulani herdsmen and farmers crisis in a more scientific way, in a more proactive way than a simple issue of just some invaders from outside, from the north invading the south or killing southerners.
Mr. Buhari, give some legal perspective to this matter. What the Senate has done today, the ultimatum given to the police chief, scientifically and legally, what do you make of it?
Right. The Senate actually acted right within the purview of the Constitution to do what is necessary in the circumstance by ordering the Inspector General of Police to bring the culprit to book. But back in the days when we had functional Senate, what they would have done would have not have been to issue statement. They would create a fact-finding mission that will be dispatched immediately to the communities affected so that they can, on the first hand, get the information that will give them an informed decision as a Senate. So they acted within the within the purview of the law, but they acted, they didn't act in the way they were expected to act, especially when you compare that with Senate in the past. But very importantly, Seun, Nigeria should brace up. There is a deeper problem that we expect. This herdsmen and farmers crisis is not to be taken lightly. And while we debate
Mr. Buhari,
whether anti-grazing law is correct,
anti-grazing
law is
sorry,
harsh.
if I may get a clarity on this matter, is it an issue of herdsmen-farmer clash? Because a lot of people in Benue State will disagree with you. They will say that those farmers were in bed when those attackers came and invaded their farms and homes and set them ablaze.
Right. I'm sorry, maybe the usage of the word clash gives the impression as if two of them met and fought. That's not what I meant. But there are also indications that in the past, maybe farmers in other communities have reacted in fighting the Fulanis earlier insurgent activities in those areas. I am afraid that if we profile the people as Fulani headsmen, we may not win the war, because then it will polarize the government and it will make the government to become weak in carrying out its duties. But when we are able to identify anybody who takes the life of an individual is a terrorist within the purview of the Terrorism Prevention Act, group of people or a person that terrorize a community, that forces the hand of the government to act in an order that is not consistent with government operations, it is clear that it is a terrorist activity. But my point is, before we determine who is right and who is wrong, the government does not have an excuse in protecting the life of citizens. If we wait until rights and wrongs are determined before the government act, then we're going to have a very terrible situation. Lately, you even heard that it is a case where we have people coming from West Africa into the country. Then there is the agitation for colony. Then there is the agitation for ranching. While that is going on, my view is that and let me say this, Shehu, before you take me out of this place, very importantly, this handling of this crisis will determine whether the President Buhari, will win 2009 election or not. It was the same thing that cost Goodluck Jonathan the election. The ability of a leader to rise to occasion, make a bold statement, visit the place. You cannot be everywhere. But the president ought to have gone to Benue and make a statement. The president ought to have issued a statement. It is not just enough to invite people from those communities without making a statement. And then we need to have more of government actions in coping this crisis. If
I'm afraid
we'll give back to another until this nation is consumed.
I'm afraid that's how far we can go on the program. Many thanks indeed to you, Mr. Kayode Ogundamisi, talking to us from London, and Mr. Daniel Bwala, a regular analyst there for you tonight on the program. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of the show today. I'm Seun Okinbaloye. Bye-bye.